everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Not the Worsted Knitting Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I am the knitter and knitwear designer behind meeshyfrazz Knits. In today's episode, you might notice we are in a new location. This is my studio. I was about to call it my new studio, but it's the same space. I've just completely redone it. Not with a whole lot of new things. There were only a few new things that I brought into the space. And I was able to repurpose a lot of the things that I already had, which is really nice. I'm playing around with locations to film. I'm trying out this corner for now. I've got a bunch of windows right here that bring in a lot of light, and I'm trying to figure out the best place to shoot. It would probably actually be over there, but there's nothing exciting over there. The big excitement about my new studio space is obviously the yarn cabinets behind me, and I really wanted to get those in the shot, so hopefully this lighting is okay. I am also fighting with Bagel to keep the blinds at a reasonable at a reasonable level. I was trying to close them mostly so I wouldn't blow out the video, but Bagel really needed to have a little bit of his sunshine, so hopefully this lighting isn't too bright. But today's episode is going to be just all about the studio renovation. So I took some behind the scenes videos when I remembered. So I've got a few videos of what was going on when we were renovating. Basically, the big changes that I wanted to make in this space were my initial setup was very dark, very cluttered, and I just didn't feel inspired in here. And honestly, I didn't even like working in here. I would come in here and then I would just be so happy to go into a different space in the house. It just really wasn't working for me. I have this beautiful L desk that I've had since we moved in, and I love it. But during the pandemic, obviously everybody started working from home a little bit more and just always being at home. And so during the pandemic, I bought a standing desk like a lot of people did. And I still wanted to keep my L desk because I love it. And that's kind of where I craft, I sew. When I want to sit down and kind of focus on something that I'm knitting or working on, I have this big table to work on. So I really love that. And I wanted to hold on to that, but I wanted a standing desk so I could stand when I wanted to. So what ended up happening was I shoved the L desk into the corner of the office and I put the standing desk right beside it. And I've got some photos of the space before I changed it, so I'll show that. And what ended up happening was it just felt really crowded. I ended up not really using the L desk for a lot. We had this old TV that we were just kind of holding on to that I put up on the L desk, so I had a place to sit and knit. I have a little green chair in here that actually used to be right here, and that was sort of like my my knitting station where I would sit and knit and watch like podcasts or TV. So it kind of did all the things I wanted, just not in a way that felt super inspiring. It was so cluttered. And then on top of that, I was lucky enough to get this storage cabinet. It wasn't something that I had picked out or purchased, but it was a big display case. It was all black with glass front cabinets. Again, that should be in the photo. I'll make sure that is shown, which was really great for my yarn storage. What I didn't love was that it was all black. This space is pretty small. It's a pretty small room. And my focus has always been on trying to keep it as light and bright in here as possible so it doesn't feel super crowded. Having such a dark piece of furniture in here wasn't my favorite, but again, I had this really nice storage cabinet. Of course, I'm going to use it. It was great for displaying my yarn. On top of that, when I'd put stuff in it, it just felt like kind of a black hole because it was just so dark. So I'd put my yarn in there and I wouldn't be able to see anything because it's just really dark. So I spent a lot of time actually putting white contact paper in the cabinets. The only white contact paper I could find was like a marbled contact paper. So I made it work. I went with it. And I contact papered all of the interior. And I did a pretty good job. You know, I cut around all the little corners and edges and everything, and it looked great. I mean, it looked fine. But it was just never really what I wanted it to be. And so the space was just really bumming me out. It just felt dark. I had furniture kind of on every single wall, and I don't know, I just didn't really want to be in here ever. So finally, around the holidays, Thomas and I were talking. Thomas is my husband, and Thomas plays a tabletop game called Warhammer, and with that, he collects miniatures that he paints. And he was saying that he'd love to take that storage cabinet so that we could go ahead and get me the cabinets that I really want, and he would use that cabinet. I'm very much a DIYer. I try to keep everything I have. I don't like to buy things if I don't need them. That can sometimes be, I don't want to say detrimental, but sometimes that leads me to having a space that maybe isn't as optimized as it could be. And I knew that's really what was going on here. So we decided over the holidays to kind of take some time and really think about what I wanted for this space, what changes I wanted to make, what I was feeling, and what I would need to take it to the next level without maybe going too crazy. And so what I decided I really wanted, it actually didn't turn out to be that much that I needed. I wanted nice, light, bright cabinets. I wanted the cabinets to be white so they wouldn't feel like so dark and cavernous. I wanted it to brighten up the space. And I still wanted to have glass in front so I could see, but I do want to keep all of my yarn behind glass in cabinets. I don't want any of my yarn out, so it needs to be stored safely. And that's just to keep the cats away, to keep any bugs or pests away. I want it protected. I also don't want to get dust on it or anything like that. So that was the big thing, just getting rid of the old cabinet and getting a new cabinet. The other thing I decided wasn't so much buying something, but actually eliminating some things, and that thing was the standing desk. Now, I didn't get rid of the standing desk, but I decided to move it into the guest bedroom because I want this to be my creative studio. And if I'm working and I want to stand, I can easily go in the guest bedroom and use that as kind of an office space. It's got the dedicated monitor on the desk, and so that works really well. I just really wanted this space to be just my studio. And deciding to make that clear separation made such a big difference in the whole mood of this space, and I'm so glad I made that call. So, new cabinets, also some lighting with the cabinets, because my old cabinet actually had lighting inside, which was a really nice feature. I actually really liked that. So I wanted to have, if not lighting on the inside, at least lighting on top. And then the last thing that I just thought would be really nice was a nice big rug. When we moved into this house, the carpet had just been replaced, but the carpet is like a beigey brown, and it's never been my favorite, but it was new when we moved in, so it didn't make sense to rip it up and put new carpet in. But in this space, it just always added to that kind of like dingy feeling, and I think it's just because the whole space just felt dark, and that brownish carpet just kind of made it feel even darker. So I just thought a rug, just a really bright rug, would be fun, just to liven up the space and maybe give it a little bit more personality. And that's basically it. Outside of that, there were a few things I wanted to do to organize the space, but it was really just that handful of items that I wanted to change. It did mean that we needed to like move some things out, move some things in. There was a little bit of reshuffling, a few things we had to order. The new things that I ordered. The display cases behind me, this is from IKEA, and this is called the Billy/Oxberg, and I ordered 2 of them. So you were able to order it in the set of 2, like you can order it where it's just the 1 cabinet, or you can do 2. And they have different configurations where you can have like a solid cabinet below with the glass cabinet up top. I think you can have it to where you don't have doors. I think the cases are the Billy cases, and I think what makes it Oxberg is actually the doors, which, nope, not that one. Yeah, these doors I think are technically what make it the Oxberg. So I ordered those from IKEA. I also ordered some lights that go on top. Those are called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right. Those are called Ytberg. Those gave me a lot of hassle, and you will see a little bit about that coming up. But I'm glad I got them. They are installed. They look really nice. They look great with the bookcases, but IKEA online, I ordered all of this on their website. The lighting situation was not super clear, and in retrospect, I wish I had ordered. It turns out there was actually a listing to where you could order the whole kit, which includes all 4 lights and the hub and all the things you need. I didn't see that when I was looking. It's not really very clear on the website. Like, when I ordered these cases, I saw those lights on one of their photos, and so when I was digging down on like the bottom of their website under recommended, it showed the Ytberg lights, and it was just a listing for the single light. So I ordered 4 of those, and then I got them, and they didn't include any of the things I needed to actually get them running. And so then I looked at another listing and found what I thought were the things I needed, and it turns out that still wasn't quite right. And in that second iteration of looking through is when I finally found that listing that had the entire lighting kit. And I would have saved myself so much trouble if I had just done that from the get-go. But, you know, lesson learned, they work, it's fine. So those are what I ordered from IKEA. I also ordered like a little sheepskin throw just to put on my desk chair, which has made it super cozy. I love it. Highly recommend. And then the last thing that I ordered for the space is the rug, which I will also show you. This rug I actually ordered it from Amazon, and it is, it's a Rifle Paper Co. Collaboration with Loloi. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And I will add listings to all of this stuff, so if you're interested in any of it, you can find it. I will say I was just looking at the listing for this rug, and I don't think they carry it in this size anymore, or at least not for the price that I got for it, but I'll post the listing and maybe it'll come back by the time this video is up. So without further ado, I will leave you now so you can go ahead and take a look at all the behind the scenes of me setting up this space, and I will see you back here in a bit. Hey guys, so I am about ready to actually get started putting away my yarn. So today, Thomas and I put these display cases up, which took a while, but they are up now and they are stable. They aren't going anywhere. And then I have spent the rest of the afternoon doing that. So I'll go over that, but that is most of my yarn. You want to feel like you have a problem, pull all of your yarn out and put it in one place, and then you'll realize that you have more than you thought. So I have just been, I had tucked all the yarn away in project bags in my closet. That is my closet. I can't point. There we go. That is my closet. So all the yarn was tucked away in there while I was waiting for the new cabinets to come in, and now they're in. And so I have spent the last, I don't know, I've spent a while organizing my yarn by weight, mostly just by weight. And so I'll go over that a little bit, and then we are going to get into organizing. All right, so now we've got the view of my yarn. We'll also pop over. Boink is hanging out with some of my other yarn that I couldn't find a home for, and she has decided that this is now hers, so that's happening. But yeah, I guess I can kind of show you where my office is right now. The standing desk actually used to be right there. We took that out, and this used to actually be in the corner here. But what I've done is just make this more central so it feels like more of a crafting space. My swatches, those have always been there. Now that I have more room, I will probably add a few more tiles in so I can fit more swatches. And I'll probably put some art up on the left. Before that was kind of hidden, so it looks a little blank right now. But why don't we go ahead and check out the yarn. So this is mostly in good shape. On the left, so starting here is fingering weight yarn that is not for socks. So any fingering weight yarn that doesn't have any nylon or anything like that, just basic fingering weight yarn. In the back right here is this section right here is basically like all of my Surrey. You can't see it, but it's all in bins. I don't really have mohair just because I can't really tolerate mohair, so all of my fluffy yarns are kind of in that bin and on top. Back here is my very, very small amount of lace weight. Really, it's just 2 items, these 2. That's my only lace weight yarn. And then as we move over, wow, you guys, I didn't think I had that much yarn, but here we are. Okay, so, all right, this is all more fingering weight in here, so it's kind of like, let's do an overhead, yeah. So it's like all of this is my fingering weight yarn that's not for socks. And then that basket onto here, that is sock yarn, which interestingly enough, I actually thought I had more sock yarn. Yeah, I mean, it's like all of that. So we've got some down there that's still in skeins, a lot of balled up. These are mostly hazel knits. My artisan sock, which I love for socks. I know I talk about that a lot. Hi, sweetie. She's gonna be yelling at us. So if you hear meows, that's her. Yeah, more sock yarn in there. Lots of sock yarn down there. And then this, this is my bag of Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, which this actually goes into here. It's fingering weight yarn. This was when I had to buy a bunch of different colors. I will zoom up because I was trying to swatch my favorites for my Prismatic Reflection summer tea. And so I have a ton of like single colors that I really need to figure out what to do with, but this is not the video for that. Okay, moving on, we go into sport weight. This was organized when I first started this, but then it just kept coming out. But basically, so technically this is Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and that is fingering weight, but I kind of actually like to put it with sport because it feels more like a sport weight than a fingering weight to me. So that's gonna stay there. And then, yeah, I've got a little bit of spin cycle, this little sliver, that's basically sport weight. And then, basically all of that is DK. So I had to make room for a little bit of DK there. This is my Hazel Knits DK from my Trim the Tree cowl. This was from a failed project. This was from another failed project. And then future skeins. Oh, and another failed project. And then future projects down there, more hazel knits, beautiful. I am so anxious to use this. This is all Lively DK, and this cranberry color is just, I've been wanting to use this for a while now. So that is DK all the way basically through to the yellow yarn and the multicolored over here. We have a little bit of summer DK over here. And then my blue sky worsted ended up back there. Let's see, yeah, from here, this basket is worsted weight, which I don't have much of. This and that little pile, that's basically my worsted pile. This is my Aran weight yarn, so also not a ton. And then this down here, so this is bulky. That is super bulky. And then these are actually all DK in these bags, but these are for my upcoming blue sky projects for the year. And then the only thing else that I've got is, this is all just sock yarn. It's undyed sock yarn. And I love to keep this on hand. This was from Wool to Die For, and I keep this on hand for like really anytime I need any sort of contrast for my socks or anything like that. And also I've used it in sweaters as well. I used it with a natural fluff to make my Prismatic Reflection stripe sweater. So a lot of uses. I like to obviously keep it with the sock yarn, but it's kind of like extra. So that's where we're at. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit here and you can see, I tried to hide it, but it didn't work. There's my tripod and that's where we're at. So big old desk of yarn. It's all going in there. I will rotate over so you can kind of see had to pull, I had another cork board there with more swatches, which I've pulled down. My calendar, which I have not filled out for the month yet because this office has just been chaos. But yeah, so let's get started. All right, we're gonna try this view out. I'm going to try the time-lapse setting for the first time in like forever. So we're gonna really hope that works. Otherwise there may be no footage of me doing this at all. All right, I think I've got everything set up in a way that I'm happy with. Just pan down here. They're not used to the cabinet doors being open, so this is a bit of a treat. So the way that I have organized this is I have decided to start from the top left and work my way down, and then go back up to the top right and then down again, and it's in order by yarn weight. So we're just gonna move up. We'll zoom into these top two shelves right now. And we start with lace weight and light fingering. I did make some minor adjustments here because, so my top shelf in the very middle, these are lace weight right here. But then on either side, there's just fingering weight, and you might notice that if you move down to the next shelf, all of my Surrey lace weight is here. But I decided to put the Surrey a little bit lower just because I grab for that more often. And so I decided to put lesser used yarns up here. Up at the very top, you will see that is all of my Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino scraps. That is what I use for my Prismatic Reflection tee. And I've just got a bunch of extra single colors that I want to do something with, but it's not something I'm frequently grabbing for. Underneath that is my leftovers from my Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock Light from my Under the Ivy cowl and beanie. And then on the right side is just some, this is some light fingering that it was from a project that I was going to start, and then I just kind of lost steam on, so that is there for now. Down in these next two, we've got more fingering weight. These are just Surrey leftovers up there, really just leftovers from projects that I've already completed. And then over here, this is kind of some of my nicer fingering weight yarn that I want to use for garments. I sort of maybe have some plans for some of it, but some I'm not quite sure about. If we move down to the next one, there's a little bit of sock weight in that middle area. You might recognize this. That is actually, it's a yarn bowl, and it houses some of my sock minis, and I bring that down sometimes when I'm shooting, just so I've got some yarny goodness in the background. And then there's a bunch of Knit Picks palette in that left corner, leftover from a project as well. And then all of my Lacetta Mulberry, and in the basket on the right is more fingering weight yarn that those are actually leftover from other projects, but it is not sock yarn. Moving down is where you do find my sock yarn. So it's actually these next two. I'm gonna crouch down so it's a little bit easier to view. It's a little bit of madness here. If we focus on this shelf, so on the right side, that is all of my Hazelknits Artisan Sock scraps from my various different projects. In the middle here, there's a little bit of Cascade Heritage. In that middle back is all of my Silly Goose yarns in some of those really fun colors. A little bit more sock yarn on to the left of that. And then this pile, which, yeah, I should probably get another shelf for that pile. This is Knit Picks Stroll. They had a Memorial Day sale last year, and I think it was just on their mini sets. So I bought a bunch of their mini sets because I thought it would be great to have on hand for color work. Down here, more scraps. So that top left section, those are scraps of yarn from a summer sock project that I just finished. That is one of my secret projects, and that'll be coming out soon. Underneath that is my undyed wool to dye for skeins of just undyed sock yarn. I love having that on hand. I have used it held with a suri for a sweater. I also use it, you know, if I need a little bit of white yarn in a sock or something like that. It's also great for waste yarn because, you know, it's just undyed yarn, so it's way less expensive than a lot of these other yarns. And then this middle area is just, it's all scraps from projects I've already done. And then a few skeins of yarn that I've gotten over the years. Now if we move down, this is now my sport weight section, which you can see is also my smallest section. I know technically that Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the back there, that orange yarn, technically that's fingering, but I count that as sport because it's just, it seems a little too thick to me to be fingering. That cashmere fine, the Lana Grossa cashmere fine, it's still one of my favorite yarns that I've used. It's a very elastic yarn. And so what that means is it knits up at a very tight gauge, but it is really beautiful in that you don't really see the stitch detail. It's a fuzzy yarn, it's very soft, and it's really beautiful for color work because it just really shows off the pattern really well without you just seeing the stitches. And I don't know if that yarn is discontinued. I really hope not because it's a really beautiful yarn and I love these colors. A little bit of spin cycle in there. You can see there's a project bag in there from a cowl design that I started, and that is the beginnings of the Aurora Infinity cowl, which I designed for Blue Sky Fibers. So I need to finish that guy, but it's just kind of been on hold ever since. So now we're gonna back up and move on to the right cabinet where now we've got DK weight yarn. I like how this worked out that the DK weight is a little bit more grabbable for me up here versus down at the bottom because DK weight and fingering weight are my two most used yarn weights. So up at the top here, these skeins on the left, the navy, the pink, and that kind of raspberry color, that is all Hazelnut's Lively DK. That beautiful marigold is Porter Wool Co. that I bought at Flock. And then just some odds and ends on the right side, I think from extras from projects that I've used. And next up on this left side of the shelf, that is almost all Hazelnut's Lively DK scraps from my Trim the Tree cowl, with the exception of this one little red. That is leftover red yarn from my my Leon sweater. That is from Newburgh Yarn Co. Also bought at Flock last year. This is failed project situation there. I was going to make myself a sweater with that pale pink yarn until I realized that that is the same color as my skin tone and it made me look haggard. Over here on the right side, we've got some summer DK weight yarn. Some of that yarn is what I used for the summer tea design. That is my other secret project and will also be coming out soon. This bag, I actually really like this bag a lot. This is a bag I got from Barnes & Noble. It is Cavallini & Co. I'm gonna try and put that back without causing too much ruckus. That is the perfect size to hold my blocking pins. So I keep all of my blocking pins in there, and I like that I was able to tuck it away in the yarn. Next up, the next couple of shelves are mostly worsted. I think there might be a little bit of DK over here, some more leftover skeins from projects. And I think some of this is going into worsted weight, although I think a lot of this is DK. And then this is a little mug I have with some of my extra little knickknacks. I've got stitch markers, my knitting elastic, as well as my nylon thread, which I've mentioned this nylon thread. And I am dropping stuff on the floor, but yeah, I just keep some of those little loose items in there. And let me see. Okay, so now we're definitely getting into worsted. And this shelf, from the bag over, that is all Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock worsted. The caked up section is all leftover yarn from projects that I've done, including that Aurora Infinity cowl. And then what's in the bags, now there's some in a bag here, and then a little bit more down there because I just couldn't fit it all. And this is, sorry, this is what I dropped on the floor. This is for an upcoming sweater project. So I will be working on that soon probably for the fall. And I'm excited about that one. More odds and ends of leftover scraps of worsted yarn. Then we come down here, and I think this is mostly Aran weight on this shelf. That beautiful green yarn that is Thought to Thread. I got that at Flock last year. This was for that beanie project that I started for my new sock design. I wanted a matching beanie, but it just didn't work out. So I've still got the ribbing just in case I decide to try it again with different colors. I'm not sure. And then just a few more Aran weight yarns here. This little basket has a lot of, so those two yarns in the back are farm yarns from a fiber festival. And that beautiful brown yarn, that is a hand spun yarn that I won at a fiber festival a few years back. And it is so precious that I haven't been able to find a project for it yet. It's one of those where it's so perfect that I don't want to use it, which is such a shame because I should be using it. But it's also a tricky amount. So it's 575 yards of hand spun alpaca. It is the softest thing you've ever felt. I'm thinking probably a shawl, but I'm just not sure yet. So I'm still thinking on that. And one day the perfect project will present itself, I'm sure. And last but not least, these bags of yarn here are basically set aside for future projects, future designs, and then the rest of this over here is my bulky and super bulky yarn. So try and, yeah, you can see some of that, and that is basically it. So I'm really pleased with how this came out. I am really pleased with the storage and the organization. I feel like it's such an improvement on what I had. I also, you can see I've added some acrylic shelves in here. I like those just to break it up, especially it's tricky with cakes. The yarn cakes take up a lot of space, and sometimes when you stack them it gets messy or they fall over. So I really like having these shelves as a way to stack them and be able to see everything. So that's my yarn. Okay, this is what I hope is our final day of setup, our last few things that we need to do. I have these lights that I want to put at the top of my shelves here. I had purchased these lights. These are called the Ytberg, I guess. I purchased 4 of them because they are supposed to go 1 on each panel. What I didn't realize when you're buying IKEA light fixtures, I suppose, these were literally just the lights, and I couldn't actually turn them on without buying the hub, which was, the information about the hub was actually hidden under a drop down. So that was a good lesson learned. So after I got everything and was so excited, got this all set up, realized I couldn't do the lights until I ordered, oh, Boink is now checking out what we have going on. But I basically needed to order this trad fry hub, and this Ansluta thingy. I think actually this is what I needed. This actually plugs them all in and is in the switch. And then I think this allows it to be smart enabled. So that is happening today. And yeah, wish me luck. All right, so we got these working. They are lit. I do have a very long cord with a switch, which you can see right now. I've just got kind of, I need to figure out what to do with that because this is really messy. I thought I was gonna be able to avoid this, which is why I bought this trad fry hub. Turns out, and looking at this, I kind of see what the deal is, but nowhere on the website does it actually specify. There are two different types of cords that you can buy, the Ansluta, I think it's called. I thought I was buying, I didn't think there were two different types. I thought I was buying the one that went with the hub, but there are two. So there's one Ansluta where it's just all in one with the switch and the plug. That's what I bought. But then I also bought the trad fry. But there's a second Ansluta, and it is, as far as I can tell, it's also called an Ansluta, but it's just the power supply, and that's what I should have purchased. That way I could plug one side into the hub and the other side into the wall. I didn't do that, so that means that I can't power this wirelessly right now, like I can't use the smart features. Yeah, it's fine, I think. We'll see. I don't know, these are also supposed to be dimmable, and I want to make sure I can actually do that without the home option, but we'll see. All right, here are my final thoughts on the Ytberg lights. So I've got them on right now. I am not able to dim them without getting the different Ansluta, the one that plugs in to the hub. So I can use them just as normal lights that I can switch on and off, but I don't have the ability to dim. I'm okay with that. Actually, so far it's been fine. The fact that they're adjustable means that I can adjust how much light I want either on the yarn or in my room. And I mean, I don't really anticipate that I will be moving these. These lights are really nice. They look really pretty. The fact that they are so adjustable is a pro and a con though, because they are extremely adjustable. And so it took me a very long time to adjust them to where I felt like they all looked like they were at the same angle. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I was a little bit stressed getting them to be as perfect as they could be, but I'm really happy with how they look. Let me go ahead and come up here so you can actually see some behind the scenes of what it looks like. So I do think this design is super clever. You essentially daisy chain them all together. I don't know what the maximum amount of these is that you can have, but they have little plugs in the back where you just plug each one into the next one all the way down the line. And then at the very end, you either plug it into your hub, or in my case, you plug it into the Ansluta. And so I ran the Ansluta back there behind, there's like a little space in the wall there. So I ran it back there, and then it left me with a really long cord. I decided that the best course of action for that was to get some command hooks. I think these are kind of meant for like Christmas lights or just wires. And I had to kind of squeeze the wire in because they're really small hooks, but I like that it's super low profile over there. And then I just ran that up the back of the bookcase, and the switch is right there. And when I have my mannequin or my dress form there, you really don't notice it. So it ended up being low profile, but I will say it was quite a long cord, which is probably a good thing, right? Like, you want to be able to have some space in there. So overall, I'm pleased with the lights. Wish I could have the dimming capability. Might try for that next time I decide to do an IKEA order. But yeah, I think they look really great. right, we are entering into my studio now. You can see Bagel tucked away in his little nook. He's a little bummed because I closed the blinds, but it's really bright and also privacy. But we all know you are here for the main event, which is probably this yarn cabinet. I'm going to pan through really quickly so you can see everything first. Take it all in, so I'll try and back up a little bit. So this is the space. We've got my L desk, which is now centered in the room. I love having it here now. It just feels like more of a focal point, and it doesn't feel like everything is just shoved against the walls. We have all of my swatches here. This is really, they've been like this forever. I love these little tiles. They're just white tiles that are like felt. And I have more of them, and I slowly add them as this starts to fill up. But this is basically just my swatch wall. All of my inspiration is here, and I can add to it as needed. You can see that my yarn swift and winder are set up on my desk, and I also have some storage underneath. Also, these little sheepskin guys, I got that from IKEA, and no regrets there. Those are so soft and amazing, really great for sitting. Yeah, my yarn station is set up. I have my electric winder. I keep it unplugged, but it's there and I can easily plug it in and wind yarn as needed. I've got just a little extra table down there. That's where I keep my scale and the little controller for the yarn winder, as well as my lighter for my candle. Love this little storage container down here. I just keep extra knickknacks and electronics and everything in there. And then over here, I'm not gonna open up my closet, but that is what's in here, is my closet. This is kind of fun too, because when we moved in, these are original to the house. These were originally just like full mirror doors. Like the whole thing was just one of those giant mirrors. And you know, it felt a little dated and I didn't love it. But I didn't necessarily want to lose the mirrors in the space because it is kind of a small room. So what I decided to do was actually just mask out some rectangles and then paint around the mask. And then I basically I just used like sticky, like the sticky material to mask out the rectangles, painted everything, pulled that off. And what I ended up with is this really nice effect where I still get the mirrors, which bounces the light really well, but it feels a little bit cleaner and modern with the nice white lines in it, and it brightens it up in a couple of ways, and I love that. Here is my green chair. I'm also gonna there's Tuna. I'm just gonna mention really quickly, since we're down here, that this is my new Rifle Paper Co. rug, which we all are obsessed with. Tuna in particular really loves it. He loves to stick his paws underneath. But I got the biggest size that I could fit in here, and I just think it is the most beautiful rug. I was nervous about this, but it's perfect in the space. And so over here, we've got my knitting chair, which this is a green velvet chair. I decided to go with velvet because I wanted something that felt a little bit luxurious, but also something the cats wouldn't scratch. Famously, velvet and microfiber are kind of the two materials that cats really don't mess with too much. But so it's true, they don't scratch on it, which is great. The downside, though, is that it is a fur magnet. So I actually have, you can see Tuna going to town. I actually have this little uproot cleaner thing, which again, not sponsored, but if you've got pets, I highly recommend this over having to constantly do like those rollers, because you know, it's way more efficient to use the uproot cleaner to get the fur off and just throw it out. But I still love this chair. I love this chair so much. It's comfy without being too oversized for the space. This part of what I loved about it was that, you know, I needed a chair that would fit a tight space but still feel like a nice chair, you know, like a statement piece. And this does that. This was a chair I got off of Wayfair a few years ago. If I can find the link, I will share that. And then just above here, I've got a little macrame project that I did during the pandemic. And then over here are just these really fun like quotes with fun cat illustrations that I just love. And I thought they went really nicely in this space. It's just like a little bit of inspiration and color. I just, you know, if you if you're new to this channel or if you don't know me well, I love bright colors. I just love to surround myself with happy, bright things. We'll just come over here to this side. So we've got my calendar, which is sort of updated, sort of not. I'm still kind of working on that with getting this space up to date. I have a place where I can put my mannequin now, which is not in the way. A little cork board for a few more of my swatches. These are kind of like the swatches for projects that aren't my designs. So I kind of throw those over there. And then over here is this great bookshelf that I got a few years ago. Okay, I had to had to put that uproot cleaner away. It was because I tucked it on the bookshelf. But anyway, this is a great little bookshelf that I bought a few years back, and it's just great for holding all of my books and my knickknacks, and I was able to further organize it, which I am really happy with. I love that it's got such a small footprint, but I'm able to really fit a lot on here. So I bought this set of 3 jars that hold my extra yarn, which I just think are really great, especially for scraps and little knickknacks. But it's a nice little decor item, but it also holds my scraps, which I love. Up here, I think the next big thing that I really enjoy is actually this basket. This actually holds all of my loose needles. So this bag has all of my crochet hooks in it, and I can kind of keep that all in one place, really organized. And then in here is just all of my loose needles. So all of my individual like circular needles that I might need in particular sizes, anything that I've used that isn't part of an interchangeable set. And then I've got all of my DPNs in here, more DPNs here. These are kind of like the nicer DPNs, and these are like the old school DPNs that I started with from many years ago. I've got my pom-pom makers in there. Just all of my little odds and ends that I might need that are kind of related to knitting tools or even crochet tools. I've got my notebooks here, which this has my show notes, and this is like more of like a sketchbook. And this is actually my new DPN case. Down below, we've got my Lumos light, my extra measuring tapes and yarn counter or stitch counters and things like that. And then just a few more things below. I mentioned in my earlier video, if we pan back up to these lights, which gave me so much grief. I ended up having a really long cord I had to contend with because I'm not currently using the Smart Hub. And so what that meant was I had this cord that ran back behind here, and I needed to plug it in to this plug. But I wanted to do it in a way to where it wasn't super hideous. And then I basically just taped it up the back of my bookcase. And then you can see back here behind my sweater, that is where the switch is. So the switch, I will say the switch is upside down, but that's just the nature of how it came out. All right, last looks. Just gonna give you one final pan. That's the space, guys. Say hi, Bagel. And I'm back. All right, well, now that you've seen the space, I hope that you can understand a little bit of why I am as excited as I am about all of the changes to the space. I just can't get over how much the space changed just with these few items that I updated. I didn't even move things that much, right? Like I shifted a few things around a little bit. I eliminated the standing desk, swapped out the cabinets, got a rug, and that's really all I did. And the space is completely transformed. My final thoughts would be that I am thrilled. I absolutely love this space. I have been in here every single day. Whereas before, I was never in here. I would come in here in the mornings. I would do all of my work at my standing desk. I wouldn't even really spend any time at my L desk just because it was off in the corner. Sometimes a cat would be sleeping in the chair and I just wouldn't even bother. It was just off to the side and it just didn't feel, it was totally wasted space. Now I'm in here all the time and I feel so creative in here. I feel so inspired in here. I love having this wall of yarn to look at from my desk or from my knitting chair. It's just, I couldn't have asked for a better change to the space. So my overall, I have nothing but positive things to say. Obviously, if you decide to go this route, definitely do your research if you're gonna get things like lights from IKEA, because that was such a pain. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with it. Even if I don't have the smart home hub set up yet, that's maybe something I'll get in the future if I ever decide to order anything else from IKEA or make the trek out to IKEA, then I might go ahead and grab those elements. But otherwise, it's great. I don't really need to dim the lights, so it's perfect. The lighting is, I feel like I've got 3 points of lighting in here, which really brighten up the space even in the evening, so it doesn't feel like a cave anymore, which is so huge for me because it used to feel so dark in here. The rug, it's funny, I was actually really nervous about the rug because once I finished renovating the space, the cabinets made such a huge difference in how much brighter everything felt that I actually didn't mind the carpet color anymore. Like it actually worked really nicely. So at that point, I already had the rug ordered and coming, and I was really nervous that it was going to darken the space back up because it is a dark rug. I opted to not go with a pale rug, or initially I was looking at even like a white or a cream rug, but I have cats and that's just never a good idea. Rugs are always kind of dicey with cats as it is, and a white or cream rug is just asking for problems. So I decided to go with the darker one with the bold pattern just because I felt like it tied in with a lot of the colors nicely with all of the blues and the blue walls. And I'm thrilled. I couldn't be more happy with every aspect of this space. So I'm over the moon. Definitely take a look at my show notes below if you want to see any of the products that I bought. This is not sponsored or anything like that, but I'm just going to list out all of the things that I talked about. I might even add some listings to things that I mentioned that I didn't buy this time around, but that are already in here, just because there are a few optimizations that I've made in here that I really love. So I hope you like this space as much as I do, and I hope you got something interesting or entertaining out of this, even if it was just watching me organize my yarn stash, because I mean, who doesn't love to talk about yarn? So thank you so much for watching if you stuck around until now. If you would like to get in touch with me, I am meeshyfrazz on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at meeshyfrazz@gmail.com, and you can find me at my blog, which is meeshyfrazzknits.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.